Welcome to Howard Brown Barber and Beauty Institute. Today, we will be working on flashcards for infection control principles and practices. Let's begin. Cocci are bacteria that are Which type of bacteria can cause strep throat or blood poisoning? Bacteria that grow in pairs and can cause pneumonia are Lyme disease and syphilis are caused by spiral or corkscrew-shaped bacteria called a chemical process that destroys most, but not necessarily all, harmful organisms on environmental surfaces is Bacteria generally consist of an outer cell wall containing a liquid called the process whereby bacteria grow to their largest size and then divide into two new cells is the presence of pus can be a sign of a infection appears as a lesion containing pus and is confined to a particular part of the body. Which of the following is a condition caused by an infestation of head lice? The ability of the body to destroy, resist, and recognize infection is called disinfectants sold and used in the United States must carry registration number. Which agency publishes the guidelines known as standard precautions? In 2012, OSHA agreed to comply with the globally harmonized system of classification and labeling of chemicals system, GHS, which requires the use of a standard format called SDS to replace the MSDS. A type of disinfectant with a very high pH that can damage the skin or eyes is called when washing your hands after you have used warm water, applied soap, and then rubbed your hands together until a lather forms, use a disinfected nail brush or brush your nails horizontally back and forth under the free edges and then up and down along the nail folds of the fingernails. The process for brushing both hands should take about Antiseptics are intended for standard precautions require employers and employees to assume that all human blood and body fluids are potentially the SDS contains categories of information. When disinfecting a whirlpool foot spa after use by a client, you must circulate the disinfectant for or the length of time indicated on the product label. After cleaning and disinfecting a pipeless foot spa after each client, how should you dry it? Which form of hepatitis is the most difficult to kill on a surface? Accelerated hydrogen peroxide, AHP, is a recently approved form of disinfectant that only needs to be changed every It is important to wear gloves and while disinfecting non-electrical tools and implements. Licensing, enforcement, and your conduct when you are working in the salon are regulated by agencies. Some disinfectants are harmful to salon tools and equipment. As part of the SDS categories, first aid measures include day important symptoms, effects, as well as SDS categories, first aid measures include important symptoms, effects, as well as cutting living skin is allowed only by fungal infections are much more common than on the hands. Items that can be cleaned, disinfected, and used on more than one person, even if the item is accidentally exposed to blood or body fluid, are called the process that destroys all microbial life is 'If the label on a disinfection product includes the word concentrate, it means that the product must be Quat solutions are disinfectants when used properly in the salon. Using bleach can damage metal and plastic. .25% sodium hypochlorite is also known as Never let disinfectants such as phenols come in contact with your items that are also considered absorbent. It is recommended that salons identify each time a piece of equipment is used, cleaned, disinfected, tested, and maintained. There is no additive, powder, or tablet that eliminates the need for you to equipment. Not having available poses a health risk to anyone exposed to hazardous materials and violates federal and state regulations. Antimicrobial and bacterial soaps are regular soaps or detergents. Include guidelines for the use of gloves, masks, and eyewear when contact with blood or body secretions containing blood or blood elements is a possibility. After they have been properly cleaned and disinfected, implements should be stored in a After each client, you should properly clean the basic foot basin or tub and then add the appropriate amount of disinfectant and let it soak for, or the time recommended by the manufacturer. Before beginning any service, you should wash your hands using pump soap, warm water, and a disease that is spread from one person to another is called a The one-celled microorganisms having both plant and animal characteristics are called the transmission of blood or body fluids through touching, kissing, coughing, sneezing, or talking is known as transmission. Transmission of blood or body fluids through contact with an intermediate contaminated object such as a razor, extractor, nipper, or an environmental surface is known as Various poisonous substances produced by some microorganisms are called a disease that is spread from one person to another person is a disease caused by pathogenic organisms that enter the body and which may or may not be spread from one person to another person is as part of the SDS 16 categories. Toxicology information includes routes of exposure, related symptoms, and any organism of microscopic to submicroscopic size is a the removal of blood or other potentially infectious materials on an item's surface and the removal of visible debris or residue is called disease. Affects the body as a whole, often due to under or over functioning internal glands or organs. The determination of the nature of a disease from its symptoms and or diagnostic tests is a condition in which the body reacts to injury, irritation, or infection. A parasitic disease may be caused by A is a submicroscopic particle that infects and resides in cells of biological organisms and is capable of replication only through taking over the host cell's reproductive function. The virus that causes AIDS is a Contact with non-intact skin, blood, body fluid, or other potentially infectious materials that are the result of the performance of an employee's duties is the scientific name for barber's itch is organisms that grow, feed, and shelter on or in another organism while contributing nothing to the survival of that organism are the presence or the reasonably anticipated presence of blood or other potentially infectious materials on an item's surface or visible debris or residues is called a the term describes a ringworm fungus of the foot. A reaction due to extreme sensitivity to certain foods, chemicals, or other normally harmless substances is a is produced by organisms, including bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites. Illnesses resulting from conditions associated with employment are as part of the SDS 16 categories, handling and storage lists, precautions for safe handling and storage, including different bacteria move in different ways, and self-movement is known as is an abnormal condition of all or part of the body or its systems or organs, which makes the body incapable of carrying on normal function. Within the field of cosmetology, the ability to produce an effect is known as add when diluting to prevent foaming, which can result in an incorrect mixing ratio. This concludes the flashcards. Make sure that you subscribe to be alerted when new videos arrive. If you'd like more information on classes at Howard Brown, please visit our website at howardbrownonline.com.